All right, everybody. I am so excited to have two of my favorite people in the industry on the show today. Cathy and Angie, thank you so much for being on Hey Docs. And I am so excited to have a conversation with both of you.
Great. Thank you for
Hi,
having us.
Yeah.
definitely. We're very excited to be a part of this great conversations that you have.
Yeah. So one of the ways I love to start out Hey Docs is anytime I have guests on the show, and especially to like the two of you, I'd love it if you would give us a little insight into how you got into the industry, how Embrace Your Practice Consulting came about. So if you take just a few minutes and go through that with us, I know our audience would love to hear that.
Sure. Angie, you want me to answer this one?
Sure, go ahead. Go for it, Kathy.
Angie and I have known each other for many years, and I had started out in the general field and then went over into orthodontics. I ended up meeting Angie in the first office that I worked in and hired her as the lead assistant. And then she moved away, and then I changed offices, and then she moved back. This is like the short version. Then she moved back and got her to work where I was working. And I was there 2 years. She was there a year. And she, at her year on April 1st, she said, "Hey, I gave notice today." And I'm like, "Oh, this is an April Fool's joke." She goes, "No, not really." And we used to carpool because we had a 45-minute ride. So on the ride home, I'm like, "You're joking, right?" She said, "No." So what are you going to do? She said, "I don't know." She goes, "Right now I signed up to take real estate school." And I said, "Okay, I'll do it with you." It was on Tuesday and Thursday nights on our way home. I said, "Okay, I'll do it with you." And we started that on our way home. And it probably, I don't know, about 3 weeks into it, I said to Angie, "This isn't for me. I don't like this." And her idea was, we'll get our real estate license and we can buy and sell dental offices because we know dental. And I'm like, "Okay." So I said, "You go on with the real estate school, you get your license." I said, "I want to open a consulting company. So let's open a consulting company. You get your license because we're going to need it." And that's how Embrace Your Practice became formed. She thought of the name. Her brother did our logo for us because he's very
Oh,
creative, and so is
yes.
she. And that's how we got started. And it's a joke because we say on June 1st, 8 years ago, $100 in each pocket, hers and mine, we started our company.
I
And
love
we really just thought our plan was to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays in Florida. We never thought we would be all over the country and working basically sometimes 7 days a week.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's how it happened, Angie.
No, definitely. The last thing that we even imagined that it was going to burst, as soon as doctors in the area found out that both Kathy and I were available, phone calls started flooding in from doctors, and they were offering us whatever we wanted because they knew our background and they knew the kind of doctors we had worked for, which were probably to us our pinnacle doctors. If we hadn't had those people guide us in the industry, then I don't think that we would have been where we are. But like Kathy says, our idea was to work 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, work locally. And literally 2 months into it, the doctors that we were working for were like, "Hey, would you go to my friend's office?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, sure," thinking that it was like an hour or two away. "Oh no, it's in Atlanta." And then that Atlanta doctor, "Oh, would you go to my friend's office in Virginia?" And we're like, "Okay, we'll go to Virginia." And literally that is how the whole thing started.
Yeah.
It wasn't a plan. It was very organic kind of thing. And literally because of this experience that we had in our office, this experience of this organic growth is something that we talk about in doctors' offices and new practices and existing practice, that organic growth and customer service is everywhere. Whether you go to
Yeah.
a Marriott, whether you go to any store, it's all about word of mouth. And I know that social media is a big thing now, but
Mhm.
word of mouth is still a major factor in any industry that we're in. The growth that we had is just literally a organic growth. Yeah.
I love that. And that's very similar to my story too. Very much grassroots approach to building the business and getting out there. And I know we're all national consultants now, and it's so exciting. And probably one of my favorite things is to be working with doctors and just see each of their needs. They're all individual, and it's just we're very blessed to be in the industry that we're in right now, for sure. So
We certainly are.
yeah, one of the things I thought as I was thinking about, okay, what can we talk about? Because you guys have got such a wealth of knowledge, and where do I want to take this podcast today? One of the things that I really want to talk about, because I know you're in practices like I am, is some of the changes that we have seen in our industry. I know, like you guys, I've been in the industry for over 30 years now, and I can say what we were doing 30 years ago, bending straight wire and tap welding bands, is completely different than the custom brackets and all of the things that, that we're doing now. So I'm wondering, as you guys are out there, what are some of the favorite advances that you guys have seen or that you're really seeing that are helping practices as you guys have been out and about? What are some of your favorites out there right now?
I'm going to take this one, Cathy. Is that okay?
I
I'm
knew
going to tell you because we're getting fired up for this. Because let me tell you, I've been doing this, and Cathy says I'm not allowed to disclose it because then people know my age. But you can see the gray hair that I haven't been in it for just 20 years. I know I try to be 39, but it's not happening. After being in the industry for 42 years, one of the biggest things that I was lucky enough, fortunate enough, to work with two doctors that were very into digital. Okay, we were one of the first office that brought an iPad in the office in the Boca Raton area. My first office that I was with them for 22 years was a low income office. So the flowability of how to do low income was a whole different kind of flow. And then high-end boutique office is what I had in Boca. But what I learned early on is digital is the way of the future and technology is the way of the future. And one of the biggest things for any of these doctors, they need to invest in verbiage for digital flow. Okay. And I will tell you, both Cathy and I have been working lately with quite a few younger doctors, which I absolutely love it, because when they graduate as doctors, but they don't really understand the business. And right now, because of COVID, we just don't have the quality staff like we used to have. So literally digital flow is going to help these doctors not have to invest in these large offices like they used to have, of having 10 or 15 chairs of patients. There's no need for that anymore. You've got night tie wires that work. You've got Light Force, which I find absolutely phenomenal technology. You've got all type of aligner technology with Invisalign, and you've got ULab. I love ULab right now. The technology with ULab is just fantastic. And just in the technology, if you can embrace technology, literally you don't have to have as much staff, okay? You don't have to see them as frequently as you did in the older days. Bending wires, you can do everything with straight wires or with aligner therapy. You have different type of dental monitoring and grin that you can do, that offsite virtual consults. And that's where the way of the future is. And we as consultants, we're lucky enough that we get to go to these conferences and learn the newest technologies. And then we get to go into offices that have implemented these technologies. And we're just trying to enhance that for those doctors. So I hope that answered your question.
It gets long-winded on good technology.
Hey, she's like me. I get pretty fired up about things that I'm pretty passionate about. And for sure, that's one of them when I'm working with docs, and I know a lot of docs that are listening, there's never an easier time to set up your systems when you are a smaller practice. I think one of the biggest obstacles that I think that bigger practices run into is when they are ready to make a change and bring a new technology into their practice. There's so many protocols from the past that are in place, and trying to get the team on board and trying to find the time to train, to change, to do all of that. So I like you guys. I'm a huge advocate of all of the different new digital technologies out there. And I'm always telling my docs, hey, it is about running a lean, mean office anymore. Gone are the days where we need to have these big overstaffed offices. It just that is not where the future's at. So again, I'm going to echo, I completely agree with you. One of the things that then leads me into thinking about, and I know we all go in and we're seeing, especially with a lot of the younger generation of doctors, these new technologies, they're embracing them because they're training on them right from the beginning. But as you guys are in there coaching and you're working with your clients and what you're doing there, what are some of the things that you guys are really seeing that has helped, that has helped with when you see practices that are really successful or doing well, and then you see the ones that are maybe struggling a little bit? Like if you were to point out, hey, these are some points or pinch points that we see that we tend to work on a lot when practices are struggling to move into that digital field or whatnot. Do you guys have any thoughts or suggestions on that for our listeners?
Kathy, you want to take
I'll
it
let
or you want me to take it?
No, yeah, you can, because what we're seeing is a lot of and I'll just say Light Force, we were invited to the Light Force meeting a couple weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
blew me away. I'm not in the clinic. I worked as a dental assistant many
Mm-hmm.
moons ago, but in ortho, I've always been management and front desk. So when we went, Angie was already fired up about it. And when I learned about it, it was like, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah.
amazing. And since that, 2 weekends ago, or 3 weekends, we've gotten 2 or 3 of our clients already signed up with them, because we just went back and said, well, you guys need to do this. This is amazing. So I think Angie was going to answer this question. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. No, what I was going to say is, to do with your question, is one of the things that I see handicaps many offices is they don't have their systems and protocols.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the
Yes.
things I learned 40 something years ago in my first practice, because we were 15 assistants with one doctor. Okay. 15 assistants with one doctor. We used to start like 120 patients a month. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we did indirect bond and everything. But what I learned from that practice is that if the team is not trained and if everybody is not fluid with the flowability from answering the phone, from prepping the patients on that phone call, to knowing how to engage with them when they come in, doing your homework, and then clinical staff understanding the doctor's treatment plan. And it doesn't matter what kind of treatment plan, whether you have a digital flow or you have brackets, the team needs to understand your flow. The team needs to understand your treatment flow. Your team needs to know how to say everything the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that is probably, in most offices that we go to, is teaching, have monthly meetings with your team.
Mm-hmm.
Have a meeting just with your administrative side of your team. Have a meeting with your clinical side of the team. If you're going to bring new technology in, don't bring it into one assistant. Have a meeting with your entire team, train your entire team, and do it as a team. Don't do it as, okay, I showed this one person and you rely on that one person to tell everybody else, because information gets missed.
Mm.
And one of Kathy's favorite things, and I'm just going to throw this out here for Kathy, because this is Kathy's big thing, is when you have meetings, have somebody taking notes and type up the notes.
Right.
And have those notes that you can reflect. And if somebody missed before they start the day, they go over the notes of what clinical meeting or what administrative meeting happened. And literally, I feel that if you can embrace making sure your team is doing the utmost best and you set the expectations, then your team is going to do everything you want for them.
Right.
But
right.
if you don't set that expectation and you don't prep them for all those different areas, then that's where failure starts happening.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I would 100% agree with you. I think the accountability and having the team members be accountable for what they're doing, whether it's participating in a meeting or learning new technology, is really key to success in an orthodontic practice. Is making sure that everybody knows what they need to do. And I have found, like you, when you say teach the team, anytime you're bringing technology in, and it doesn't matter what it is, we've got so much coming at us right now. It's having a plan. You may want to implement 5 things, but maybe you start with the one and you get that system down and you make sure, and I maybe waver just a tiny bit in the sense that I would say we want to have that key person that learns the technology and then it moves on to the next. But that it just depends. Every practice is different. Every training is a little bit different. But the ultimate goal is, do we have accountability? And it's almost like, have we broke the system? Have we figured out everything that doesn't work so that we know that it works correctly? Does that make sense going forward? So I could not agree with you more on that we have to have those baseline systems in place anytime we're bringing this new technology in.
Right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll just pop in here. I'll hop in with that training in the new technology and bringing them up to speed. What the staff needs to know and what the team needs to know. It takes 21 days for change. When you bring something new in and your staff or your older staff may balk at it because they're so used to doing
Mhm.
things this certain way, and they may balk at it. So we say embrace the technology that they're seeing and using
Mhm.
and give it the 21 days. Don't make up your mind from the very beginning that, hey, this isn't going to work, and pull back.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
as long as you're keeping your mind open, most of the things are really great that are coming out. And some people are going to have a hard time with change. But again, if the doctor and the office manager reminds them 21 days for change. So, like
Mhm.
you said, Jill, there may be 5 things. And we tell doctors we can give you a lot of stuff, but you've got to tackle 1 or 2 things at a time in
Yes.
each department. Because if you give 5 things to the front desk or 5 things, you're not going to be
Mm-mm.
successful. Take one or
Mm-mm.
two, work on it for 21 days, and then let's work on something else. So
Yeah.
that's our motto: is 21 days for change. You have to,
Yeah.
and you just have
Yeah.
to stay positive.
Yeah. And knowing that even though we want immediate change, we want to see things, it takes time. If you want to do it right and you want to do it well, you take the time. It's going on a diet. You're not going to see that change the first day you go into a calorie deficit.
Why
I
not?
wish it would happen,
I don't understand.
Instead, 3 months later, you're like, wow, I dropped 5 pounds that I've consistently kept off. That seemed like a really hard work. But I think that's that same concept is you have to take your time. You have to be methodical at it. Anytime you're bringing this new
Mhm.
technology in, and even though the excitement is there, you have to slow it down and backwalk that. Come up with your plan, just like with anything, and then implement and move forward. And like you guys, I love that concept of 21 days. I always tell my teams, you need to give it a minimum of 3 months. Anytime you bring something new in, 3 months,
Mhm.
because that's really where things start clicking. You find out if have you thought about everything? Is it starting to work? And usually by about that time, most of your team members are
Mhm.
now on board because they've baby walked into it, right? And they're
Right.
Right.
ready to start accepting that. Kathy, this may be a little bit more of a question for you, but in thinking about this with technology, I want to talk a little bit about increasing efficiency in practices. And we could have efficiency from front of the house to back of the house, but let's start front of the house. What are some of the things that you're seeing in practices? And it could be some new technology that's out there that's helping with efficiency, or just systems. Again, we know that what worked in the past, I always tell my docs, we're working to put protocols and systems in place that are going to work from 2023 forward, not still working off of something that was circa 1990s. But do you have some insights or little pearls you'd want to share about that?
If anyone knows me well, this is going to be a very easy question for me to answer. Reports.
Yes.
Run your reports daily, weekly, monthly, and look at them. Look at them and see what it is. And if you don't
Mhm.
understand what the report is, please ask somebody.
Yes.
If you don't understand, you look at it and you stay on top of them. So when I go in to train an office manager, financial coordinator, front desk, whoever I'm training, I tell them, if you don't understand the report, get deep down into it. So when I'm training, I make sure they understand the report, what they're looking at, why
Mhm.
these numbers look the way they need, what can we do to improve them. I'm a firm believer. My other favorite saying is garbage in, garbage out. If you're putting the wrong
So
information
true.
into your software,
Yes.
you are going to get the wrong information out.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just reports. Yeah, you've got to be on top of them. I spoke to a new client that we signed last week that we're going into, and I'm looking at his reports, and I emailed him. I said, who's working reports in your office? his email back was like, I don't think
Reports?
anybody, I just log on and look at my KPIs. And I'm like, okay, this
Yeah,
is going to be fun.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I,
And so
and
you got to teach the doctors to look at them too.
yeah, yeah. And I would say for our docs that are listening out there, never ever be afraid to ask the questions. You guys went to
Oh,
school
gosh.
for a long time and you're really proficient at what in the clinic, but when it comes to understanding the backbone of your practice, understanding each system is different. Each system even has different verbiage on sometimes the reports that we're looking for, but there are always baseline reports out there that we're monitoring and watching. And that's one of the things we tell our clients too is it doesn't matter if you don't understand it, we're here to help you. We're not here to knock you down and kick dirt on you when you're like, I don't understand what net production is. Okay, let's figure that out. And I think as a whole, especially with all the consultants that I know out here in our industry, I know that all of us are looking to help come alongside offices and come alongside team members to really help them understand that. I could not agree with you more. The reporting and all of that is really important.
One of the
Yeah,
biggest things
definitely.
that both Cathy and I see all the time is they sometimes don't even know how to work the software.
Yeah.
And all the softwares out there have amazing capabilities. But if you don't know how to use the software, you have to call and get that information.
Yeah.
And if you can't get it from the software company, then unfortunately you do have to get a consultant that understands how to guide you to understand these reports. And I think that's where the missing link is in a lot of things, because they show them how to schedule, they show them how to put a new patient into the software, but some of them don't even understand what status codes mean
Mhm,
or understand how to do the
mhm,
follow-up from your status codes
mhm.
and how to follow up with missed appointments. I don't put it all on fault of the office sometimes. And that's what Cathy goes is, this person is not doing it wrong, is that they were never taught
Yeah,
how to
yeah,
do it.
yeah. And if you don't
So
know what you don't know.
then you don't know. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong, it's that you're
Yeah,
limited knowledge. So I think that is probably, to me, one of the handicaps in a lot of offices is they truly don't know what the capability they have with their software, whether
yeah.
it's their management or third party software. They need to understand what they've invested in.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think unfortunately, what we tend to see a lot is, especially with established practices, you've got that institutional knowledge. So that first person was trained on the system. They knew it really well. And unfortunately, there was turnover or change, and it becomes like a telephone, right? Like, I think the system does this. And as it gets passed down from employee to employee, it could be so watered down that nobody even realizes this really great robust system that they have or what it should be doing. I would encourage docs to, especially our established ones out there, if you've got these systems or you're just feeling like, gosh, especially it kills me when I see docs using Excel spreadsheets to be tracking stuff. And I'm like, unless you're using a software that is so not in our industry, which even if it were a dental software, like there is no reason to be using Excel. You've got the technology in front of you. You just have to know how to tap into that and use it.
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely. The one thing that we like to do when we are in the process of talking to a new client, or even if it's an existing client and they're getting ready to switch their softwares and they're going to convert and transition into something new, we always tell them, listen, take the training from that company. They usually offer 3 days training, take that training, but have us come in about a week later. And then we can pick up the pieces because they're not going to be able to show you everything. We can pick up the pieces and get you through what they did, but then start really going
Yeah,
deeper into exactly how does this
yeah,
work.
yeah,
So we'd like to do that as well.
yeah. That's great. Any other efficiency tips that you can think of, you guys, as you're thinking front to back office, just that you think docs or team members could really grab onto as they're moving forward?
Garbage in, garbage out. Data. Put the data in correctly.
Mhm.
Even the most simplest thing, when a patient checks in, a new patient checks in, re-verify that you've got the name spelled wrong, because sometimes on the phone it's hard to understand the different
Yes,
languages and stuff like
yes.
that. just re-verify you've got the spelling, you've got the email right, you've got the address right. If you're not putting in the correct data, that reflection is just going to make it a negative all through the series. Because I love how when you go into some offices and you see the name on the board, welcome Johnny or whatever, welcome Dylan, and the name is Dylan. And Dylan walks in, he looks at it, he doesn't even pay attention. That's him, because that's not the way he spells his name. He spells it Dillon.
Yeah.
So don't assume that you know how to spell someone's name, and don't assume that you've got the information right. As soon as they walk in, that should be one of the first things they do. And make sure you're putting in your status codes right, because it all reflects on your follow-up on having those two things correct.
Yeah.
So that's my big thing. What do you think, Cathy?
Like I had said earlier, and you said garbage in, garbage out. That is just so important, because if you're putting in the wrong information, you're not going to get the correct information out. And I've gone into so many offices where they're not working their status codes, correctly. Nobody's running the reports and double checking them. Their computer system's not set up on a D-band to switch to retainer. It's just really knowing your software is super important. And Angie said, if you don't know it, and we're not working with you, or another consultant's not working with you who can explain it, pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, listen, I need some extra help on this because I don't understand this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that I would add just on top of this is anytime you're finding time, block time scheduling. I'm a big advocate for that. I'm always pushing my docs, my team members, that you have got to find and block out time to work on your business. And working on your business is learning how to run your reports, understanding, taking the time to actually pull open and open those reports and work it and do all of that. And if you aren't scheduling that in and you think that it's going to happen in between patients, it's not. You have got to have time. And that's probably a pearl I would drop out there from efficiency, is make the time to work on your business while you're in your business, because nights and weekends is not fun for anybody. Nobody wants to be working nights and weekends.
And I'll hop in that when you are doing your reports and looking at them, also set your goals. Set your goals. Hey, listen, this report here is way out of whack. Let's set our goal to have this completed. Give it a 2-week margin or something like that. Set goals from what you're looking at on your reports.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we wrap up here, I'd love to have you guys, this has been great. How about any advice? Do you have 2 or 3 pieces of advice if you had practices that were looking to take, docs that are looking to take their practice to the next level? Any pieces of advice that you guys would give them?
I'll give you mine to start. And I know Angie will probably have 3 different ones, but mine to be open-minded. Be open-minded about the new technology. Be open-minded. Don't stay in a rut. Be ready for change. Give your staff the proper training on the new systems that you're excited about, that you're bringing back from a conference. But my main thing is communicate. Yeah. Angie said, you have to have your team meetings. You have to have your staff meetings. You have to have agendas for those. So those are my 3 pieces of advice for any doctor out there.
Perfect.
I have to say that was some of the things that Cathy took from me. So maybe I won't have 3. I'm only kidding. But understanding your flow in your office, understanding who's responsible for what. Make sure you assign projects or assign reports to the proper people. And make sure, like Cathy said, give them deadlines. Let them have a deadline that they turned in before you have a staff meeting, so that the doctor and the manager can review those reports so that they can get cleaned up. That was a big thing. And understand your flow.
Yeah.
I talk about that all the time. I don't know if Cathy can remember this, but I went in one day when it was Halloween and I dressed up as Flo from Progressive Insurance with the flow thing, because flow is so important. If you don't understand your flow and you don't have your team really embrace what their position is and cross training, that to me is a big thing. I wouldn't know what I know now if I had not been cross trained. I was lucky enough that the doctor foresaw. Okay, my Spanish is coming out and sometimes it doesn't come out right. But if you foresee these things happening, get your team together and make sure that everybody, and one of the biggest things, and I'm going to tell you one of the biggest things is
Tell us
everybody
one of
is
the biggest things.
responsible. Everybody's responsible to sell. It's not just your TC, okay? It's your customer service. It's who's answering the phone. It's your treatment coordinator. It's your clinical staff. Everybody is responsible to sell. And that doesn't mean that you're selling a product, but you're selling your doctor. You believe in your doctor. You believe in what you do. And if you don't believe that this is the best office for you, then get out.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you have to believe in who you work for, and you have to appreciate what it is you're bringing to the table, because you're actually changing people's lives.
Yeah.
So there's mine.
Yeah. And some passion behind it too.
Well,
Drop the mic. Drop the mic.
boom. Where's my mic? Boom.
I love
Was
it.
that a banana?
No, I love that. And you guys are exactly right. All of those little pieces of advice are right on. And I'm sure that our audience is, okay, check. Ooh, I got to work on that. Yep. I have really appreciated you guys on the show today. And this is exactly what I was looking for, just to have a good wealth of wisdom out there for the docs. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you guys, how's the best way to do that?
Okay,
I'll
Cathy.
say my cell, 954-383-3566. Or my email is cjugovic, JUGOVIC @gmail.com. But you can also go to our website, embraceyourpractice.com, and send in a little request on our little forms in there to schedule a chat. And Angie and I would love to talk to you, whatever's convenient for you, even if it's after work hours or a Saturday. We'll always make ourselves available to chat to anybody that contacts us.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. Guys, it's been awesome having you on the show. And I don't know if you know this or not, but the way I like to finish up Hey Docs is a little speed round. So are you guys interested in the challenge of the speed round?
Absolutely. We're both going to do it.
Yeah, sure. Why not? You got to answer and answer. All right. Cathy, we'll
okay.
start with you. Describe your style in one word.
Perfectionist.
Perfect. Angie?
Creativity.
Ooh, I love it. What are you listening to or watching?
Whatever's good on Netflix when I can watch it on the plane. I love Yellowstone, but I've seen it all. So I only watch Netflix when I'm traveling. So whatever Angie recommends, I watch.
Yeah, I tend to download a lot of things when I'm traveling on the plane. And sometimes after I leave the office, I have to disconnect from it, because part of my thing is creativity of the flow of the office and understanding that. So I watch pretty much anything and everything, and I love music. So I'm always listening to everything. I'm in Tennessee, but I'm not into country music, but I listen to some of it. But that's my thing. It's just, I love getting my mind out of the space.
I hear you. That's me too. Some days I just need like total disconnect. It just needs to be something that isn't business.
Right, exactly.
What are you doing just for you?
Spending time at the beach. Can't you tell?
Yes, you've got a nice glow.
Thank you. Whenever I'm home on a weekend, I take at least a Saturday or Sunday. Now that it's nice, I usually wait till about June 1st to do it. And my husband and I just go to the beach and we just plop our chairs there and enjoy. Turn our little music on and enjoy with our little beer and wine.
Of course. So everybody needs a little libation.
Yeah, we start with the Bloody Marys in the morning, and then at noon we switch over to the margaritas, or he switches to beer.
Love it.
Mine is photography. I love photography, and I love creating spaces. So right now my project is I have a shed in the back that I am changing into an outdoor bar right now.
Do I get an invite when it's done?
Sure, on top of the mountains, because there's no bars. So anyways, it's 30 minutes to get to the closest Dollar General store or Walmart. So because I'm up on the top of the mountain. Yeah. So my husband is into wine, and he's taken over my closet in my room. And I said, no more wine until the bar in the back is made. And then we'll just do a whole wine section there for you. And he's okay, fine. That's what we'll do. So that's what I'm designing right now, is to convert my in there to a outdoor kind of like little studio room with a bar.
Oh, that
So
sounds
that's
wonderful.
my stuff now. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. I am not a creative person per se. I wouldn't be
Me
able to do
either.
that. My husband could, but I could not.
I'm
But
not either.
I could drink a mean glass of wine or a cocktail with you. How
Well,
about
Jill, I got it. I got it. You and I will go up there and we'll have our cocktails and set and we'll watch Angie create that bar and we'll
ooh,
give her
that
critique.
there you
Right.
go. There you go. We'll be bar
Exactly.
chair experts.
Yeah, we should
Yep.
do a creative consultant roundtable up here in the backyard at my
Love
cabin,
it.
because we got
Love it.
big fireplace and I'll have the bar ready. And you guys don't even have to roll off the mountain. I'll just pitch some tents back there and you guys can all slip them.
You know how I like the mountains, so I'm down. You put the invite out, I'll be there. All right. So as we finish up, any big, hairy, audacious goals that you guys have?
I do. I've been thinking about this and it's to be acknowledged as one of the most reputable consultants in the country and be able to help as many orthodontists build a successful practice and maintain it. You
Yeah.
have to maintain it.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
most
great.
important thing.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I pretty much agree with Cathy. I want to share all the knowledge we have. And one of the biggest things that I notice is people don't know how to talk to people anymore. And they don't have that customer service feel, felt, and found technique. And we have to be a better feel, felt, and found community in every shape of the manner. And I think that's what I want to give. I want to give back that emotion of changing their life and that emotion that we can do that and step the game up in those offices.
Yeah, I so agree. And again, you guys are great. And I think even just having anybody who's listening understand that as consultants, we're all here. Yes, we all have our different specialties per se, but we are ultimately all here to help you and your team be better. And we aren't competing against ourselves, just like you shouldn't be competing against your peers as well. And it's just really about helping everybody be better. So I think
There's
that's
enough people out there for everybody.
Oh my gosh.
You
Yes.
know,
Yes,
there's
absolutely.
enough.
Yeah. Thank you
You know,
guys
I'll
so
say,
much. Uh-huh.
I'll say, if there's any docs out there listening and are on the fence whether to bring in a consultant, pick up the phone and call any of us. Tell us what it is you're looking for, and don't be embarrassed. The first thing I tell our clients is you picked up the phone. That's the most important thing. You
Yes.
admitted you need a consultant. It's not embarrassing. It's
Yeah.
something that every office really should have at some point in their career
Mhm,
because
mhm.
they don't know what they're missing. I was
Yeah.
in an office yesterday that Angie and I worked at 5 years ago, and they're bringing us back in to do some more training. And he said, listen, what's new out there? You and Angie, I consider royalty and celebrities in the orthodontic world. He goes, and I don't have time to go out there. What's out
Yeah.
there? What's new?
Yeah.
What can you bring to me? I'll just say that.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. That's the beauty of us all working across the country and being in hundreds of offices is we do get first seat knowledge to the latest and the greatest out there, and
Yep.
can definitely see where the industry is going a lot of times before other people. So I agree with you. Thanks so much, guys, for being on the show. I know that the docs and team members got a lot out of this. So again, thank you very much. And hopefully we will,
Thank
I
you.
know we'll see you at another conference coming up here soon.
Yep. We'll see
Definitely.
you
Thank you
soon.
so
Thanks.
much.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Thanks, Jill.
Bye.
Bye.